training world was silent when the human arrived. Tall trees stretched across the land, thick shadows hiding unknown dangers. Many species stood together near the landing zone, watching the newcomer with open laughter. The instructors had already made their judgment. Earth's prototype looked small, slow, and fragile compared to the others. Heavy armored bodies, sharp claws, and glowing eyes filled the area. The human wore light gear and carried only basic tools. One alien trainee laughed loudly and pointed at him. Another shook its head and spoke in a mocking tone. They said humans were soft creatures from a gentle world. They said Earth was weak and its people weaker. The main instructor stepped forward, his voice cold and sharp. He explained the rules of the survival test. Each trainee must survive alone for one cycle. No advanced weapons, no outside help. Only skill, intelligence, and discipline would keep them alive. Then the instructor's tone changed. He looked directly at the human. He raised his voice so everyone could hear. Avoid all wildlife. He ordered, do not touch, hunt, or approach any living creature. He continued. The wildlife on this world is extremely dangerous, he warned. The other species nodded in agreement. They believed this rule was simple common sense. To them, wildlife meant death. To them, predators were monsters, not food. The human listened quietly. He did not argue. He did not laugh. He only nodded once, calm and respectful. His silence caused even more laughter. One alien whispered that the human would not last an hour. Another said that gravity alone would crush his weak body. Someone joked that the human would cry for help. Before sunset, the mission began. Teams moved into the wild from different directions. The forest swallowed them one by one. Sounds of movement and distant roars filled the air. The human walked alone. His steps were slow but steady. He observed the ground, the trees, and the wind. He touched the soil and looked at broken branches. His eyes showed focus, not fear. Hidden sensors followed every move. Instructors watched from the control room. They shook their heads in disappointment. They believed the human was already lost. Time passed. One team returned early, exhausted and empty-handed. Another came back injured. Shaken by unseen threats, fear spread through the camp. The instructors repeated their earlier judgment. They said humans were not built for this kind of world. They said Earth's prototype was a mistake, but the human did not return. Hours passed and the lights slowly faded. The forest grew darker and louder. Strange calls echoed through the trees. Sensors showed the human moving deeper instead of retreating. This caused confusion among the observers. Why would he go farther when danger increased? Why did he not hide or turn back? One instructor leaned closer to the screen. Another adjusted the sensors to follow the human more closely. Their laughter slowly faded into uneasy silence. The last report showed the human stopping near heavy movement. Large shapes shifted beyond the trees. Something powerful was nearby. The control room fell quiet. No one spoke. No one laughed anymore. And still, the human did not run. The camp slowly filled as other trainees returned from the wild. Their bodies showed fear, stress, and exhaustion. Some carried broken tools. Some carried injuries. None carried food. They gathered near the landing zone, speaking in low and nervous voices. Many complained about the wildlife. They described fast shadows, sharp sounds, and glowing eyes in the dark. One creature said the forest itself felt alive and angry. The instructors listened with serious expressions. They nodded as if everything was expected. To them, this world was doing exactly what it was designed to do. It was breaking the weak and testing the strong. Someone asked about the human. The question caused a short moment of silence. An instructor checked the monitors. The human signal was still active. He was still deep inside the forest. Laughter returned. One alien said the human was lost. Another said he was too scared to come back. A third said the wildlife would finish him before nightfall. The instructors agreed. They said humans lacked natural weapons. No claws, no armor, no venom, they said. Earth's prototype was clearly unfit for survival training. Inside the forest, the human moved with purpose. He crouched low and studied the ground. He noticed broken leaves and pressed soil. He listened to distant sounds and slow breathing. He did not rush. He did not panic. Every movement was careful and controlled. Hidden cameras followed him closely. The observers watched with confusion. The human was not hiding from wildlife. He was studying it. One instructor frowned and leaned closer to the screen. This behavior makes no sense. He said, He should be avoiding all movement, another replied. The human followed tracks that were invisible to the others, marks left by heavy feet, signs of feeding, passed through dense plants. Night slowly approached. The forest changed. Sounds grew louder and closer. Eyes appeared between the trees. Back at camp, fear grew among the trainees. They huddled together, hungry and tired. Some questioned the rules. Some blamed the instructors. Again, someone mentioned the human. Again, laughter followed. He is probably frozen in fear. One said, he will starve. Another added. But the sensors told a different story. The human stopped near a clearing. Movement surrounded him. Large shapes shifted in the darkness. The control room became quiet. The instructors stopped laughing. One of them whispered that the human was cornered. The wildlife moved closer. Heavy steps shook the ground. Low sounds filled the air. The human remained still. Then something strange happened. The human adjusted his grip on a simple tool. His breathing slowed. His posture changed. The observers felt unease. This was not the behavior of prey. This was not fear. One instructor finally spoke. He is preparing, but for what? Another asked. The human took one careful step forward. The shapes in the dark responded. The distance closed. At that moment, the sensor feed flickered. Signals spiked. Movement became chaotic. The control room erupted in shocked voices. No one could look away, because the human had not run. He had not hidden. He had chosen to face the wildlife. And for the first time, the instructors began to wonder, what kind of world could create a creature like this? The sensor feed stabilized slowly. The shaking image became clear again. The control room filled with tense silence. The human was still standing. The wildlife was no longer moving freely around him. One large creature lay on the ground, its massive body still. The forest sounds faded into distance. Several instructors stared at the screen in disbelief. One of them stood up suddenly. That is impossible, he said. No human should survive that. Another replied. Inside the forest, the human knelt beside the fallen creature. His movements were calm and careful. There was no celebration, no anger, only focus. He checked his first. He listened. He waited. When he was sure the area was safe, he began to work. The human used simple tools. Nothing advanced, nothing powerful, just sharp edges and practiced hands. The observers watched in shock. They realized what he was doing. He is preparing food, one whispered. This breaks the order, another replied quickly. The instructor in charge felt anger rise. The rule was clear. Avoid all wildlife, no contact, no hunting. Yet the human continued. He worked with speed and respect. No movement was wasted. Every action had purpose. Time passed. The human carried the prepared food with him. He moved carefully back through the forest. The weight did not slow him. At the camp, the trainees felt something strange. A new smell filled the air, warm, rich, and unfamiliar. It was not fear. It was not danger. Confusion spread among the gathered. Speeches. Some lifted their heads. Some looked around nervously. Others felt hunger awaken. The human emerged from the trees. He walked calmly into the open space. In his hands was clear proof of his action. Food taken from the wild. Gasps echoed through the camp. Several trainees stepped back in shock. Others stared in disbelief. The main instructor moved forward quickly, his voice sharp and angry. You ignored a direct order, he said. You endangered yourself and others. The human stopped and looked at him. His face showed no fear, no regret, only confusion. I survived, the human said simply. His words were calm, as if stating a basic fact. The instructor raised his voice. This test was not about hunting, he replied. It was about control and discipline. The human tilted his head slightly. He listened carefully. Then he spoke again. You said survive, one cycle. He said, you said no help. You said no tools beyond what we carried. The camp fell silent. Every trainee listened closely. I did that, the human continued. I avoided danger when needed. I used what the world gave me. The instructor had no immediate answer. His anger slowed into uncertainty. Other instructors exchanged uneasy looks. He realized something important had happened. The rule was made from fear, not understanding. The trainees whispered among themselves. Some felt fear toward the human. Others felt respect. Many felt both. The human stood quietly, waiting, not defensive, not proud. The forest behind him remained silent, as if watching, as if acknowledging the outcome. For the first time since the training began, Earth's prototype was no longer a joke, and the instructors knew. This test had revealed more than they expected. The camp remained quiet after the human spoke. No one rushed to punish him. No one laughed anymore. The main instructor studied the human carefully. His earlier anger faded into curiosity. He realized shouting would not answer the question. "You broke a direct order," the instructor said again. "But you also survived." The human nodded once. "Yes," he replied. His voice was steady and calm. The instructor gestured toward the forest. "That world is filled with death," he said. "Wildlife is not a resource, it is a threat." The human listened without interruption. When the instructor finished, he spoke slowly. "For us, it can be both." The instructors exchanged looks. Some showed confusion, others showed disbelief. The human explained in simple words. He said, "Humans came from a world where danger was normal. Predators hunted them, where they tried to kill them. Hunger was a constant enemy." He explained that avoiding all danger was never an option for humans. Survival meant learning the danger, understanding it, and facing it when needed. The trainees listened closely. Many had never heard survival explained this way. The human continued. He said humans did not grow strong because Earth was kind. They grew strong because Earth was harsh. He pointed at his own body. "No claws, no armor, no natural weapons. This is why we use our minds," he said. "We watch, we wait, we act." One instructor asked why he did not fear the wildlife. The human answered honestly. "I respect it," he said. "But fear alone does not keep you alive." The room grew still. These ideas were uncomfortable for the instructors. They realized their rules were built on avoidance. Avoid danger, avoid risk, avoid loss. Human survival was built on choice. When to hide, when to run, and when to fight. The instructor slowly lowered his voice. He admitted their training assumed wildlife was always the enemy. He admitted they never considered it. As part of survival, the trainees whispered again. Some began to see the forest differently, not just as a threat, but as a system. The human did not boast. He did not demand praise. He simply explained what was normal to him. The instructor finally nodded. He looked around the camp. "Your method worked," he said, "even if it broke our expectations." He paused before speaking again. "Perhaps our rules protect us from fear, but not from reality." That sentence changed the mood of the camp. Respect replaced mockery. Curiosity replaced fear. The human stepped back. He had said enough. The forest remained quiet beyond. The lights, still dangerous, still alive, but now it was no longer unseen. And the instructors understood one thing clearly. Earth did not produce weak creatures. It produced survivors. The next cycle began with quiet change. The camp felt different. Whispers followed the human as he moved, but they were no longer full of laughter. The instructors gathered early. They reviewed the data again and again. Sensor logs, movement patterns, survival results. Everything pointed to the same truth. The human had not survived by luck. He had survived by understanding the world around him. The main instructor addressed the trainees. His voice carried authority and reflection. "This program was designed to test limits," he said, "but limits depend on perspective." He announced a revision of training doctrine. Wildlife was no longer classified as a simple threat. It would be studied, observed, understood. Many trainees reacted with shock, others with uncertainty. A few looked toward the human. The human did not step forward. He did not ask for recognition. He simply listened. The instructors continued. They announced that Earth's prototype would assist in future survival planning, not as a leader, but as a reference. That decision caused a deep shift. The species that once mocked humans now watched them carefully, fear mixed with respect. During later exercises, trainees followed the human's methods. They learned to read signs. They learned patience. They learned restraint. Success rates improved. Injuries decreased. Confidence replaced panic. The forest no longer felt like a living nightmare. It felt like a system with rules. One trainee finally asked the human a simple question. "Why do you do this so calmly?" The human answered without thinking. "Because this is normal for us." That answer spread through the program. It appeared in reports, in training summaries, in whispered conversations. A new line was added to the survival manual. "If humans avoid wildlife, it is mercy, not weakness." The phrase became a quiet truth, shared across species, across training worlds. Earth's prototype was no longer a joke. Humans were no longer underestimated. The instructors looked at Earth differently now, not as a soft blue world, but as a place that demanded strength. The human prepared to leave the training world, his mission complete. Others watched him go. No one laughed. No one doubted. The forest stood silent once more. Still dangerous, still alive, but now everyone understood what kind of beings could walk through it calmly. Creatures born on Earth, forged by hardship, shaped by survival, and respected by the stars.